BBC in beds, hearts and bucks. This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Some children don't like soggy cabbage, smelly sprouts or bitter broccoli. But of course everyone loves potatoes. You're wondering what I'm talking about, aren't you? Well, I'm reading from a new children's book called Dangerous Potatoes. Let me read a little more. How can a potato be dangerous, I hear you ask? Well, if you've never seen a dangerous potato, you're very lucky. The author of this very strange book is with me in the studio. But he also wrote this track by Kajagoogoo, which I think you'll know from the intro is Too Shy Shy. Let's hear it first, and then I'm going to be talking to the wonderful musician all round everything, Nick Beggs.
Tongue tied or short of breath, don't even try. Try a little harder. Something's wrong, you're not naive. You must be strong. Oh, baby, try. Hey, girl, move a little closer. You're too shy, shy. Hush, hush, I do I. Too shy, shy. Hush, hush, I do I. Hush, hush, I do I. Too shy, shy. Hush, hush. Modern medicine for sure of your complaints. Try a little harder. You're moving in circles, won't you dilate? Baby, try. Hey, girl, move a little closer. Hush, hush, I do I. Too shy, shy. Hush, hush, I do I. Too shy, shy. Hush, hush, I do I. Too shy, shy. Hush, hush.
Well, who doesn't know that song? That's an incredibly fantastic pop record. And I am so thrilled to have with me a Leighton Buzzard boy, born and bred. It's the wonderful Nick Beggs. Whee!
Hello, dear.
Hello. Did you like your little round of applause there?
It was lovely.
Nick, you are known for being in many pop bands and being an all-round musician, everything, Chapman stick player. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you, what I was doing there over the intro, I was reading from your amazing book called Dangerous Potatoes, which is for children. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yes, well, Dangerous Potatoes is the story of 4 children, 3 of which are friends, and 1 who is the naughtiest boy in the whole wide world.
And what's his name?
Timmy Trolleybus. And they find out that if you go into Bluebell Wood after dark without wearing metal pants, you'll get bitten on the bottom by dangerous potatoes.
Oh, your face went all weird when you said that.
Sorry about that.
So it's quite a scary book for kids then?
Well,
in a fun way.
I thought I'd have to compete with Doctor Who, you know, and
yes.
Children seem to like that quite a lot, so I've gone down that kind of level of scariness.
And the potatoes are in the meadow, aren't they? Lurking under the soil.
Yes, they live in Bluebell Wood, and they have an allergic reaction against sunlight. So
right.
they don't come out during the daytime. So Bluebell Wood is a pristine, beautiful place during the day. But if you go there in the night, which you shouldn't, you're in big trouble.
Okay. You're not going to get lots of potato producers complaining about this book, are you? Saying, our potatoes are not dangerous. Our health and safety say that, you know.
I'm hoping I might help, sell a few, actually.
Yes. Well, there you go. I mean, it is a lovely... And I know because you were at art school many, many years ago, and you are an artist as well, a fantastic painter. I've been lucky enough to see some of your portraits. But I know you illustrated the book as well, and the pictures of these potatoes, I wish you could see them, listeners. It's amazing, funny little faces coming out of the soil. We're going to be able to see more of this on Facebook, aren't we, when it's all up and running?
Well, Facebook is live now, so if on Facebook you go to Dangerous Potatoes, or Twitter, which is Dangerous Spuds, because Dangerous Potatoes is too long for Twitter.
It is.
And then the URL is dangerouspotatoes.com. You'll be able to see and enter the competition, and the books are being released on October the 1st.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's great that you've diversified yet again, Nick, because there's not much you can't do, really, is there? And I know you're a good DIY man as well. Talk about that later. But Nick, you tell us about your upbringing, because obviously we know you from Kajagoogoo, and I know you play with many, many artists, and you're going to be telling us about that. Tell us how it all started for you. When did you first pick up a guitar, or when did you first start?
Well, strangely enough, I started playing waste paper basket when I was about 8. And
how do you do that?
You just hit it really hard. And it's amazing how rhythmical and imbibing it can be. And
I'm trying to imagine what a waste paper basket sounds like hit. Okay.
Well, I was such a bully to my poor sister. I used to use her head as a mute. So I put it on her head and do a drum solo and then get into trouble.
Nice, okay. You were brought up round Leighton Buzzard area?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I lived in Leighton Buzzard up till the age of 20. And then I moved to London when I got my first record deal when I was 20. And,
so you were young, really, to get a record deal? Quite young.
I was the youngest member of the band, but I turned 50 this year. Where did it all go?
But the band were initially called Art Nouveau, were they not?
Yes, we actually had two bands. We had a band called the Handstands as well, which played clubs and working men's clubs to earn money. And then Art Nouveau was more of an art school rock band to try and get a record deal, but no record companies were interested because we were too strange.
And of course the name Limahl is quite a famous name because we know him as a member of Kajagoogoo, and then he went solo.
Yeah.
But after Limahl joined it, you then changed the name to Kajagoogoo.
Yes, we did.
And you know what I'm going to ask you about that word, don't you?
Yes.
And it's a boring question for you because you've answered it a million times, but I'm afraid we want to know.
Where's the name came from?
Yes, please.
The twisted recesses of my mind.
Really?
I just delved in there, and I remember I was working, I dropped out of art school because I wanted to be a professional musician, and I was working as a rubbish collector in Leighton Buzzard to earn money so I could write on some songs. And I remember just coming up with the name, and I thought, if anyone can market a band called Kajagoogoo, you can market absolutely anything. And I was right.
What a challenge, eh? And Too Shy. I mean, we've just played the track, and it's that intro that everybody knows that song. Obviously, you're still getting paid every time it's played, so I'm sure you're pleased about that. But was that your first single as Kajagoogoo?
Yeah, it's the first release. We got it absolutely right for the first album. We worked on it very, very methodically. And I mean, in many respects... What do you mean, methodically? Well, we were very pragmatic about what we wanted to achieve. We were looking at the other bands around at the time, the Duran Durans and the Spandals and Thompson Twins. And we wrote songs that were tailor-made for the radio at that time. Even, Limahl joining the band, he was a perfect match to what we were trying to achieve.
What year was this? 80?
He joined the band in 1981.
Yeah.
But we had our first hit in 1983.
And it went straight to number 1 and was there for quite a while, I seem to remember.
It went in at number 32, and then I think over about 3 weeks it climbed to number 1, stayed there for 2 weeks, but it was number 1 in Germany for 7 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah,
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be chatting to Nick for the next hour, and it's lovely to have you here, Nick. Meanwhile, we're going to be playing some other music now. I'm afraid it's not your track, Nick, but I think you like these guys. It's Dire Straits. Talk about the Olympics. I've got a lot to talk about with Nick Beggs. Nick Beggs, fantastic musician, songwriter, a Leighton Buzzard boy, played with many, many people, most famously the creator and bass player of Kajagoogoo. Nick, you've just been telling us about the crazy name Kajagoogoo and how it came about. And would you like to tell us about... there was a little bit of... how can I put it? You broke up a little while. You didn't speak to Limahl for a while. You weren't friends for a while.
That's very diplomatically put, Kate, actually. We fell out.
So what happened? You fell out?
We fell out. We fell out over many things, but it was clear that we were pulling in separate directions on every level back then in 1983, and we'd had 3 hits and a hit album, and it should have been the happiest time of our lives, but it really wasn't, to be honest. And so he went, and he became a solo artist and went on to be very successful with The Never Ending Story. And
I've only just discovered the name Limahl, spelled Limahl, it's an anagram of his surname, Chris Hamill, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. Well, it was all part of the thinking about the way in which we market ourselves, I suppose. That's my art school background kicking in, you see.
So how long did he go off on his own for, and when did you get back together again?
Well, we reformed about 3 years ago. So, you're looking at a good 20 years.
Quite a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the real issue was, we had some hits after he left, but he had the bigger hit with Never Ending Story, and I think that was good for him, and I think he needed that too.
But good for both of you, because, you've still got a massive fan base, haven't you?
Well, we enjoyed the tour, and the fans came and saw us, and I feel like it laid a lot of ghosts to rest, and we're friends again.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I know you play with lots of artists, and you play with Kim Wilde, who I greatly admire as an artist. She's just got such longevity and great singer, great performer. She always looks great. And you tell me, I don't know her, but you tell me she's a lovely girl as well.
She is, yeah.
She's a Hearts girl, isn't she?
Yes, she lives out near Welwyn Garden City, and I'm out every weekend with her in Europe. We just got back yesterday from 2 shows in a place called Sylt in North Germany.
Wow.
And then a Hamburg show, and then I'm back out with her the next weekend.
Yes.
We've played to millions of people over the past 7 years.
Wow.
Millions.
And Nick, you're famous for your plaits. You haven't got your plaits in today. For anybody who doesn't know what Nick Beggs looked like, if you Google him, you'll see lots of images of him as a young man, obviously, with his spiky blonde hair. But he's still got his blonde hair, but quite often you have nice little plaits, which I like them, but I like you with it down now, nice and loose. And also on stage, you're quite well known for wearing a kilt. Is there a Scottish connection there? Or?
Well, it's actually a Celtic connection, because the name Beggs means the rocks at the foot of the cliff in the sea. And there's a place in Northern Ireland called Killybegs.
Of course, your father's Northern Irish.
And when I started working with Howard Jones, he said, "What would you like to wear on stage? I want to make something for you." And I said, "I've always wanted to have a County Antrum's tartan kilt in respect of my father." And he said, "I shall do it." But then I migrated onto leather kilts and plaits, and he refers to me now as Nazi Heidi.
Oh dear, oh dear. But it's a very interesting look, certainly. I didn't realise. There's me thinking there was a Scottish connection. When you were growing up in Leighton Buzzard, did you have a musical sort of environment? Were your mum and dad quite musical? Was the songwriting something you did from an early age?
My father was a semi-professional saxophonist, but he could turn his hand to most instruments. Even though he was a professional painter and decorator, he was always very passionate about playing, and he had dance bands. And
really?
I'd go and see him perform. And I think that was initially where that came from. My grandmother also had a melodeon in her house, which she used to play quite.
I remember those. Was Leighton Buzzard, was it a good place for a little child to grow up who wanted to get involved in music?
No, it wasn't. It was a very moribund place at that time.
Very moribund?
Yes, it really
Well, that's probably the first and last time I shall use that word today. It's a very interesting word to use. So, really?
Yes.
So it was not the best environment?
It wasn't. It's far better now. In fact, I love Leighton Buzzard very much.
I know you still live around those parts, and it's gorgeous where you live.
Yeah, but back then, around 70, 71...
There was nothing?
It was I think the fact that it felt so confined and constricted were the reasons that galvanised us to really making things work, to break out of our small insular world and get a record deal.
Yes.
Made us work extra hard.
So when you started to write songs, would you still be at school age? I mean, I started writing tunes when I was very, very young, and I'm sure you did. But it's when you're about in your teens you start thinking, I'd like to record this, isn't it?
I think I started writing poetry first through the English lessons, and the teachers were always rather taken with it. I don't think they quite knew what to make of me. I was a very strange bird.
You still are?
Yeah.
I can only say that because I know Nick. He doesn't mind me insulting him. And so you'd be writing songs from an early age and then getting into a band. You see, having success at 20, a lot of people would say that, it's very young to have success, isn't it?
Yeah, so 21 actually, and we'd sold 3 million records. And,
wow. I know, I've been to your house, I've seen all the discs everywhere. It's like there's a clashing light as soon as you walk in. The light nearly kills you. It's a very lovely studio you have at home. I've been lucky enough to work in there with you. And do you enjoy the technical side of things? Because I know I don't. Doing this job today, I'm not very technical. I'm only good at talking into a mic and that's it.
Well, I'm to be honest, Kate, I'm a complete Luddite. I do things by necessity, and I learn whatever I have to, because I'm not really interested in the technical aspects of things. I just want things to work. That's why I like bicycles. Lovely.
Oh. Okay. So we're going to go now. We're going to keep Nick in the studio and we're going to be talking to him about his book, Dangerous Potatoes. But for now, it's 1:26. I've talked to you about an instrument that you play that not many people know about. It's called a Chapman stick. Can you please explain to us? I've heard you play it. Can you explain to us what it is?
Well, it's unusual because it actually looks like an ironing board with strings on.
It does.
And it's also very useful for doing your ironing on, because when you're on the road and you haven't got one, I like to get the little travel iron out and do my smalls.
Okay, right. But can you describe what it looks like, the Chapman stick? It is a stick, isn't it? It's a piece of wood.
Yeah, it's a fretboard. It's a very wide fretboard that you wear perpendicular to your body. It slips into your belt with a belt hook, and then you've got like a saxophone strap that goes over your shoulder, so it's upright, and you hammer onto the fretboard with both hands using your fingertips, and it gives you the ability to arpeggiate bass lines and melody and lead lines simultaneously.
Right, so whereas with a guitar, it's a string instrument.
Yes.
We've got to tell people.
Yes.
Whereas with a guitar, you either play lead lines or chords.
Yes, or bass.
Or bass.
Yes.
With this, you do all three.
Yes, and because it's a MIDI instrument as well, you can play synthesizers in unison. So you're doing three people's jobs. But I never seem to get paid 3 times the rate.
I was going to say, I bet you don't get 3 times the money. It's an incredible instrument, and for those of you who have never heard it, do Google Nick playing the Chapman stick, and not many artists can actually play it. And it is, I would imagine, how many years did it take you to learn that? I mean, I know you play piano, I know you're a fantastic bass player, but was it many years of...
Well, I've got to be honest, Kate, every day is a new voyage of discovery. I don't think I'll ever master it, but I played it the first day I got it because I just applied what I knew of other instruments, and I think if you have a basic musical understanding, you can pick out a tune on most
Before
things.
I met you and worked with you on a radio show years ago, I'd only ever seen, I can see Jonathan here is looking up Chapman stick on his computer. I'd only ever seen a chap in Covent Garden playing it.
Yes,
and
he's great.
I just thought, what is this instrument you're playing? Because it sounds like a harp, guitar, piano, all in one.
Yeah, that's right. It's a blank canvas. You can affect it with whatever effects you want. You can make it sound like the most searing lead guitar or the heaviest bass, or you can make it sound like an orchestra. And it just depends on who you're playing for and what capacity.
So did you learn classically? I mean, I learnt piano classically as a young child, and I know it's helped me as a musician, but did you actually learn the dots when you were little? And
No, I sold all the commercial success I had was without knowing the difference between a major or a minor scale.
No way.
Absolutely. I
Really?
had no idea it was all completely intuitive. It wasn't until 1988, after my second band, Ellis, Beggs and Howard, that I realised if I wanted to have a long-term career, I had to be able to read.
I was going to say, because I've seen you writing dots out, and I've seen you scoring music when we've been doing programmes together. So, I mean, I've always just thought you were classically trained.
No, I went back and I learnt. I went to the Guitar Institute and studied there, and then ended up lecturing there and writing part of the business curriculum for them. But it was incredible. I was just learning on the hoof. Again, I'm not really interested in the technicals until you have to. And that's another example of that.
Yeah. And so, with the Chapman stick, have you ever I know you've recorded it, but have you ever played it? Obviously not in Kajagoogoo or the other bands with Kim Wilde and the person you're working with at the moment, Stephen Wilson.
Stephen Wilson, I played for him with it, and Stephen Hackett from Genesis, but also John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin called me up. Well, actually, Robert Fripp called me up and said, would you play Chapman
name
Stick?
Dropper, sorry.
Would you play for John Paul Jones? I said, yes, I will. He wants you to play Chapman Stick for him. And I said, oh, all right, then go on.
Go on, then.
Talk me into it.
Tell us about Stephen Wilson, who you're working with at the moment.
Stephen Wilson is an incredibly cutting-edge progressive rock artist. He has a band called Porcupine Tree, who have been very, very successful and recognised. But he's doing a solo career now, and I was very honoured when he called me up and said, would you be in my band? And he loves the Chapman Stick, so I get to play it all on his stuff. And strangely enough, because of rubbing shoulders with such prog glitterati, I've been nominated for a Progressive Rock Virtuoso Award this year.
Have you?
I think I need to lie down after that sentence.
Prog glitterati. It's difficult enough to say, never mind play. That's great though, isn't it? And do you still, you work with, you were just telling us before that you work with the wonderful Kim Wilde, and have you ever worked with her dad?
No, though he's been to some shows. And
Marty Wilde, sorry, I should say.
Marty's great, and he regales us with his fantastic road stories. He's a brilliant raconteur.
Yes, and the brother as well.
Well, Ricky Wilde is who writes and produces all her stuff, and he's part of the band that we go out most weekends and play with in Europe.
Brother and sister, isn't that nice? I mean, I work with my brother Ted. We always end up arguing. No, we love each other, but we always end up going, oh, shut up, no, shut up.
Well, there's a third person to that mix, and that's Ricky's daughter. That's Kim's niece. That's Scarlett Wilde, and she does all the backing vocals for Kim live.
That's right.
She's brilliant.
I've heard about Scarlett. What a great name, Scarlett Wilde.
Yeah, she's a brilliant singer, but she actually is an A&R scout as well at the moment for Phrased Differently.
Wow.
Phrased Differently?
Phrased Differently?
Yeah, they're a development company.
Wow. Well, I'm talking to Nick Beggs, all-round musician and smarty pants generally. And he's here with me till the top of the hour. And in the meantime, we're going to listen to Human League. A lovely musician guest, Nick Beggs, of Kajagoogoo and many, many other groups and artists that he works and plays for. Nick, we've been talking about the Chapman stick, which is this very unusual instrument, and you were telling me that you weren't classically trained as such, but you took that up later. Mm-hmm. Would you tell your own children to go into the music business, the rock pop music world, or would you tell them to steer clear?
Well, my eldest daughter Lula, she's 21. She's got stuff on iTunes, and she's a very gifted songwriter and performer, and I feel the same way about her choices as I do my younger children, because I've got 5 children.
I was going to say, haven't you got loads of children?
I do, yeah. I've got 5 altogether. But I think Lula is the only one who's showing a musical bent. And honestly speaking, I think if it's a natural direction that the child wants...
You've got to let them go on it.
Because it's a very difficult industry to find your way, and you've got to be incredibly inventive and think on your feet. I don't
think it's difficult to find your way. I just think it's difficult to earn money.
Yes, that's what I mean. It's to make a living out of it is close to impossible. So you have to really know what you're doing. You have to really find your niche.
Yes, I think that's very true. And which gets me round, the reason, you've written a children's book called Dangerous Potatoes must be to do with the fact that you've got so many kids yourself, and obviously reading stories to the kids. Did that inspire you to write Dangerous Potatoes?
With all my nephews and nieces growing up, I would always tell them bedtime stories. They always wanted a story from Uncle Nick. And what you have there is about 30 years of inspiration galvanised into 13 stories. I'm
just going to read a little bit of Dangerous Potatoes. Oh, but before you get started, there's one more thing you need to know about Dangerous Potatoes. They can change nature around themselves. They can turn normal things into unusual things, because they are freaks of the vegetable world.
A bit like me, really.
What, a freak?
I'm a bit of a freak of the vegetable world.
So you illustrated Dangerous Potatoes yourself.
Yes.
Now, you went to art college. What year would that have been? 70s?
79 to 80, late, yeah. It was a very traumatic time because my mother was terminally ill of cancer, and my father wasn't on the scene at the time. And
Was art a way to lose yourself a little bit by painting?
No, it wasn't. To be honest with you, Kate, I was being streamed for the art world. That people said that would be the best way for me to go. And I was acquiescing because that's what people wanted of me. And then after my mother passed on, I thought, you know what? I'm really passionate about music and not passionate right now about art.
But the two do seem to go together quite a lot, don't they? With quite a lot of musicians paint, would you say, or
yeah,
sketch?
Yes, they do. I mean,
the creative process is not similar, but it's
same part of the brain. That's the thing.
Maybe it is the same part of the brain. Yes,
but I've come back to it because I've had the opportunity to find it again, and I love it. I retrained as an illustrator. I got a diploma in illustration.
Well, I have to say that the drawings, if you want to look at Dangerous Potatoes on Facebook, it's hilarious. These little potatoes appear out of the ground. And I think, what would you say the demographic of the audience for the kids is, the age group for this stories?
Well, I'm kind of marketing it to the 5 to 10-year-olds, but a little younger and quite a lot older really like it. Even some adults, I think, are going to find it quite quirky.
But knowing you will probably get it all recorded on audio.
Yes, it has been recorded on audio thanks to your wonderful self coming in and helping me so wonderfully.
I did do a little bit here and there on that. Yeah. And no doubt you'll write the music for it as well.
The music's all written, there's little clips which are going to go on the website, dangerouspotatoes.com, when that goes live shortly.
And then there'll be Dangerous Potatoes, the musical.
Yes, and the lunchbox.
Dangerous potatoes, it's show business. I mean, I'm just trying to imagine what it's going to be like as in a musical. But, I think with your story, it's just because it is quite terrifying, but it's not too much. But as you were saying before, children with Doctor Who nowadays, they do love to be frightened, don't they?
I think there's a lot of humour in it as well. It's tinged with fear, but there's always a laugh at the end of it, which I think is essential. Yeah.
And are any of your children growing, following your footsteps with the art, drawing and?
Yes, Willow is our youngest daughter. She's 10. She's a very gifted artist. I think she probably will go down that route, actually, professionally. That's what she talks about, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think that having 5 kids, obviously, as I say, it's inspired you to write. Do you think that you'd like to carry on writing? Not as opposed to once a musician, always a musician, but is it something you prefer the process of, would you say?
I get bored very quickly, and I think that this has come out of the fact of having some time on my hands in between going and doing shows.
That's interesting you say you get bored quickly, because whenever I speak to you, you're always darting across the world, playing with all different artists, and it sounds like such a life that is not at all boring. But are there spells where you come home and suddenly... I mean, I was going to ask you about that because, I was married to a musician for many, many years. And is it difficult getting back from all these hotels to home life when you come back to your 5 kids? And
no,
I know they don't all live at home now. Yeah. The eldest one's left. But
that's my most joyous time, actually, walking through the front door. And
is it? That's nice.
It is. I can't think of anything I like better than to step off the plane, get in the car, drive home and say I'm home, and it's just an incredible feeling to be through the front door.
And you're very different to a lot of musicians I know in that you're quite good around the house as well.
St. Nicholas of Bedfordshire.
You're very you're ever so good with DIY.
You're swelling my head now.
No, but you like the garden, don't you? Enjoy being in the garden.
I do. I think that's why Dangerous Potatoes came about, because I have a great sense of sorrow for what's happening to nature. And I kind of see Dangerous Potatoes as wreaking nature's revenge on us, because that's what it's going to do. And it is.
So there's a metaphor in this story of Dangerous Potatoes.
It's very, very strongly veiled eco message that nature is going to bite us on the butt.
Really?
Yes.
So are you an eco warrior?
Well, not as much as my dear sister Jackie. She has her own hedgehog sanctuary and looks after rescue hens, but I'm vegetarian, as she is. I get very angry about the things I see, like whaling and the terrible meat industry and the way that it behaves in such a way. But
So in your story, your Dangerous Potato stories, how is the metaphor put across to kids who are reading this? How is it put across that
that basically you have to show nature respect. And
Yes.
if you don't understand it,
That's what I was
don't
gonna
go
say.
and play with it.
Show nature respect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe in your introduction to the book you can highlight that, do you think? Or do you think it's nice for people to find out for themselves that it's quite an eco story?
Yeah, I think also, people don't want to be preached at. This is my agenda. These are the things I think about. But I'd like people to read the books and make their own conclusions about Dangerous Potatoes and what it's all about, because it's also about being a child and the mystery of what happens when parents aren't around.
Yeah, Lord of the Flies.
Yeah,
famously spoke of that story, did it not? Is that William Golding?
Yes, but it's not quite as dark as that. Obviously, it's aimed specifically.
It's very funny, Nick. I mean, Timmy Trolleybus, the main character in it, is hilarious. The naughtiest boy in the world. I mean, that's naughty.
He's very naughty. Anything his mummy and daddy ask him to do, he does the opposite.
Well, you're listening to Kate Robbins sitting in for Nick Coffer, and it's been my pleasure to talk to you, Nick, for the last hour, and what a lovely man and what a talented man, and I do hope everybody has a look at your children's book, Dangerous Potatoes, and I hope that you all go and listen to a Kajagoogoo track. In the meantime, we're going to listen to Emily Sandé, My Kind of Love.